This is Repanshek. I'm in Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, roughly 90 miles west of Lake Powell. It's a spectacular landscape, lots of fossilized dunes, spectacular sandstone formations. Not that much water. The water that does run here comes down rivers like the Escalante River, not far from where I'm standing. I've come here to explore the issue of invasive species. Of course, we've got the quagga mussels in Lake Powell itself, but out here on the landscape, there are actually wild cattle, feral cattle that escaped from their herds long ago and vanished into this landscape. We haven't seen any cattle, but we have seen signs of them with cow pies all over the landscape. What we have seen are Russian olive and tamarisk trees. Those are non-native vegetation brought here to the region long ago as ornamentals and to serve as erosion control, because the Russian olives with their roots really do harden the landscape. And that's the problem along river courses like the Escalante River, because normally those rivers will flash flood during the monsoon season and they'll erode the sandbanks and carry the sedimentation downstream. They'll spread the river corridor a little bit wider. What Russian olives do is they armor those landscapes, those river banks, and prevent them from eroding away, and so the river erodes channel down as opposed to spreading out across the landscape. And that's a problem for the native vegetation. I hiked in here roughly 5 or 6 miles with the Grand Staircase Escalante partnership crew that comes down here. They work throughout the year, roughly 8 or 10 months of the year, to actually physically remove the Russian olives and the tamarisks. So let's see what they do over the next couple days. I'm deep inside Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, nowhere close to Lake Powell, but there's a lot more to Glen Canyon National Recreation Area than Lake Powell. Here in the backcountry, we're along the Escalante River. I'm with Alex Engel from Grand Staircase Escalante Partners. And I've come down here for a couple days to watch what they're doing in terms of removing non-native vegetation like Russian olive and tamarisk trees. And so Alex, what can you tell me about this process? How do you identify where to go and how do you attack this vegetation?
Well, we've been doing this for a while, so we kind of have a legacy of where we've been, and so we're trying to see all of the area where there was Russian olive and where we expect there to be Russian olive, and see all of that every 5 years. So we're just kind of building on what we've done in the past. So we have a partnership that does include the Park Service, and we work together to create a document, the Woody Invasive Control and Restoration Plan. And in that plan, we have kind of lined out how to identify which areas to go to and where to go and when. Okay. I think 1/5 of the acres that we've identified for treatment is about 1,500 acres.
And that work basically comes down to sawing down the trees and spraying some Roundup on them?
Yeah, we use herbicide with the active ingredient glyphosate, and then you just cut down the tree as low to the ground as you can and put herbicide directly on the stump. It's a very direct application.
By cutting them down, I mean, aren't those seeds still there to regerminate down the road?
Indeed they are. Unfortunately, it would take an incredible effort to pack out all the seeds that they produce as we're cutting them down. So our strategy is to cut them down as fast as possible so that they stop producing seeds. Seeds kind of transport through the air, but Russian olives, they've got these big berries that like to float on floodwaters. Mm-hmm. And so you see the most Russian olive seeds being transported via floods.
Jonathan, you work with the Utah Conservation Corps is one outlet to get volunteers, labor to come out into the NRA and spend, 5 or 6, 7 days at a time whacking away. How do you sell them on that?
Well, they are paid, but it's a small stipend and an education award that is offered through the Corps. Mm-hmm. And the crew members and crew leads are AmeriCorps volunteers. Mm-hmm. And so that through that program, which is a national program, they've received those benefits and largely the experience. Being out here is once in a lifetime experience. Just being and exploring this area is one thing, but also gaining the experience for a career in maybe natural resources or land management or maybe even the Park Service.
Glen Canyon National Recreation Area certainly seems to have its fill of invasive species, from the Russian olives and tamarisk trees along its river corridors and washes to the quagga mussels in Lake Powell. But the NRA is not the only unit across the national park system that faces problems with invasive vegetation. Across the park system, there's an estimated 2 million acres being invaded by non-native vegetation. It's a daunting problem, especially so when you add to it the threats non-native wildlife, feral wildlife, and non-native fish pose. For the traveler, from deep inside Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, this is Kurt Repanshek.